Hello everyone, welcome to a new chess video. In this video, we're going to see a super aggressive trap that's going to give you some very good results in your games because most of your opponents will fall for it. This trap occurs when we play d4 and they respond with d5. As you can see, these two moves are very popular. Therefore, we'll be able to use this trap on many occasions. How does this trap start, chess teacher? Well, on the second move, we give away the most important pawn we have in our position. Chess teacher, have you gone crazy? As I always say, yes, I've gone crazy, but this works. So here, what happens if we give away the most important pawn of our chess game? What happens if they capture it? Well, here we're going to make a series of moves to leave your opponent with absolutely no chances at all. Before, the possibility of playing f3 was studied here, but this wasn't very feasible. Since they weren't forced to capture, they could counterattack with e5, and it doesn't seem like the best option. So, new lines with better options have been developed, and that's why I'm making this totally brutal video. What are we going to do here first then? We'll develop our knight to c3, directly attacking this pawn, which, if they want to keep this pawn advantage, they'll have to defend it. It's important, above all, not that you memorize the moves, I always tell you this, but that you understand why we make each move. That's why these videos are so nice, because we can learn a lot from each one of them. The most normal thing here is for them to defend it with knight f6, since they won't want to lose this pawn, and they can also defend it with a totally normal development. And now it's our turn. And now it's time to play f3. Now it really works. f3. The most normal thing is for them to capture, and I'll explain why. If they don't capture, we'll capture this pawn ourselves, and we'll be much better off with a pawn center, and we'll also have recovered the pawn we were down. Therefore, here they have to capture, and here they stay with an extra pawn, waiting for us to retake with the knight and continue the development with an extra pawn for them. What happens is that we're going to retake this pawn with the queen. Now we're already creating some slightly silent threats, but our opponent has to be very careful because we already have a queen starting to attack. Let's assess the situation for a moment. This pawn is now totally hanging. They can capture it, and I'll also tell you something else. They should capture it, because if they don't, we're simply down a pawn. We'll defend it with bishop e3, and our position will be much better because we'll have the center. If they manage to capture this pawn, which is actually what they have to do, black has a two-pawn advantage, and it seems they more than justify the position. It's true that we have an open path for our bishops, but our opponent is up two pawns. Here it looks like we're much worse off, but nothing could be further from the truth. Here they're falling right into our trap. We're going to play none other than bishop e3, as we said before, attacking this queen that has to retreat. Since this queen is in the center of the board, we can choose, gambits, sacrifice pawns to gain initiative and attack. Well, in fact, here we've given away two pawns, and we're gaining a lot of initiative by attacking the queen, which has to retreat. And let's see where it can go. A very logical and dangerous looking idea for black here is to place the queen on b4. Why? Because it's attacking this point, which doesn't seem easy to defend, and besides, it can always retreat again. Therefore, here and in the future, when this bishop isn't here, so it seems like a very safe square. So let's first evaluate this option, queen b4, and how we get out of it. The first thing you need to know is, we're going to castle, which looks like a huge mistake, and now I'll explain why. Surely many of you already see why it looks like a huge mistake. Yes, it defends this pawn here, but black has a very good move that we'll see now on their part. First, let's quickly evaluate the position. We have our king safe, whereas the black king still needs a few moves to castle. Now we can bring out both our bishops, while our opponent can only bring out one, and their queen is very exposed. But here, as you can see, black has the move, I don't know if you found it, bishop g4, which looks super strong. They're attacking our queen and our rook. A totally spectacular pin that it seems we can't get out of. But right here, we have an absolutely and completely unexpected move, which is knight b5, just straight up giving away the queen. Here, our opponent will think we've gone crazy because we're giving away the queen. But nothing could be further from the truth. If they take the queen, thanks to the castled rook, we jump with the knight to c7 and deliver a spectacular checkmate, because the rook would cut off the king. Therefore, this queen can't be captured. They have to try to provide a path and escape for this king. Here, the most played move is e5 to give him an escape route upwards. It doesn't seem like the best move, but anyway, let's analyze how we finish if they play e5, since it's the most used move at this point. There's a totally impressive move, and I challenge you to pause the video to see if you can find it, because it's a very difficult move to see. I'm telling you, I'll tell you now that the first thing is to give this check with the knight and the king, since this file is cut off, has to come here no matter what. How can we continue? This is the star move. Let's see if you can find it. Pause the video for a moment. All right, now I'm going to tell you what the totally incredible move was. Queen takes pawn, giving away the queen. It's practically impossible for you to find the move, but if you found it, you're a genius. What is the reason for deflecting this queen? We're deflecting this queen, giving away the queen. The reason is to come in now with this bishop to deliver a brutal checkmate. The queen from here was defending the square, now she's not. We deliver a brutal checkmate since this knight covers these two squares. We would deliver a totally spectacular mate. You're freaking out over this aggressive line, right? Well, let's keep looking at variations because it's spectacular. And now comes the best part. First, as you know, we give away the most important pawn in the position. Here, our opponent will already be thinking either that we're very bad or that we've gone crazy. So let's continue with the line. As you know, not f3, but knight c3. And remember, okay, it's more important to understand the position and why we do each thing to be able to apply it in your games than to learn the moves by heart. Although, if you learn them, you can also literally replicate what we're doing here. Knight f6, defending now this extra pawn they have, and we now will play f3. They have to trade with us because otherwise they'll be much worse off, and instead of capturing with the knight, we'll capture with the queen to create multiple threats. We said that this pawn has to be captured because otherwise they'll be quite a bit worse in the position. We continue with bishop e3, attacking a queen that has to move, and we're going to keep seeing what happens when they come here because there are more options. You remember, right? When they attack us here, we have to castle, letting them pin our queen with the rook, which seems very scary. But we don't have to worry because this is a mistake, and I'm showing you how to punish it. Let's see. Here, we're threatening this knight jump, as we said before, and we saw that e5 was a mistake because we delivered checkmate by sacrificing the queen. But many of you will tell me, hey, chess teacher, you don't need to play e5 to stop this checkmate. I can play knight to a6, knight to a6, and I directly defend this square, and you can't do anything to me. Well, yes, I can. Here, it's important to capture this pawn. We're going to capture the pawn next to it, attacking the knight, attacking above all the rook to deliver checkmate. And now here they can play this move right here, attacking the queen, and with x-rays the knight. Therefore, we couldn't take, since they would take our knight, and besides, they would be attacking our rook. But nevertheless, here we have a totally masterful move. We have a checkmate in 2 moves. Come on, I invite you to find it. Pause the video, see if you're able to. And now I'm going to give you the solution. The brutal solution is queen takes rook. We sacrifice the queen with the goal of deflecting the knight's defense, and when they capture our queen, now we jump in with the knight for checkmate, because the rook, as always, thanks to the long castle, is defending this entire rank. Therefore, we just took here, okay? We just took here. We've seen that rook to b8 solves absolutely nothing, since we can sacrifice the queen to deflect the defense and deliver a brutal checkmate. Therefore, we have to look at different solutions for black, and it seems like a very good one is to place the queen over here, trying to trade queens, thus keeping the advantage and also defending this rook here with an x-ray. Before continuing with this spectacular variation, I have to thank you all. The channel's going stronger than ever after the rough patch that YouTube put us through. Thanks to all of you. So if you keep up the usual support, I'll be forever grateful. A like, a comment, subscribing, it all helps. That's how we grow more every day. Thank you all very much. Now then, how can we activate defend with the queen over here? It looks complicated. Well, the correct answer is to take the knight with the queen. Why? Because we're removing the direct defense and now we are threatening checkmate. Therefore, black has to react. They can react in several ways. The most logical is to take the bishop with the queen because they also give us a check and force us to move. Now, if we pin ourselves with the rook, it wouldn't go well because then this rook would practically be out of play because they could come with their rook, extreme pins, not yet, but it would be dangerous for us, okay? Here, we'd have to move the king calmly, and it's true that now they could take our rook or many other things. For example, let's see if they take the rook. If they don't take it anyway, watch out, huh? Dirty minds in the chat. If they don't take it, no, seriously, if they don't take that rook, we're still winning. But if they take it, even more so, because we're going to play the queen here, give a check. If the king moves, we'll enter with the queen. We can enter here, and if they block, it's exactly the same. We take the rook, check, and this is already totally lost because they have to give up the knight. Let's take it. This position is totally won. Let's set up the critical position then. I'm going to go through it a bit fast because we've seen this many times already. If it's not clear, you can look back a bit on the board. F3, E takes F3, Queen takes F3, Queen takes D4, and now Bishop E3 attacking this queen. We return to the critical position where we've been studying what happens if the queen comes here. But what happens if the queen comes here to try and force a queen trade, which seems to put us in quite a bit of trouble? Well, to see this, we're going to look at a real game between two very strong players, whose names I don't recall right now, honestly. I was looking them earlier, but I don't remember. And this is very important because we're going to see it in a real game. Later on, you'll be playing real games against real people. Therefore, we have to see how people behave, and it's very important to understand these moves. Once the queen attacks us, we're not interested in trading, since in a gambit, you know we shouldn't give away too many pieces. If we trade queens, we're left without many attacking opportunities. So we'll quietly retreat it to the f2 square and continue the game on the part of the black pieces. Here, the black pieces look to, as always, exchange pieces. Since they're attacking the queen and the knight, we have to trade. So they were traded, and now they're attacking this spot. Here, the white pieces castled. Therefore, we're following a pretty similar plan. Here, the black pieces played a6, a bit passive to try and avoid this check here, which seems like a good move. And here, the white pieces played knight f3. Why did they play knight f3? Well, knight f3 has a brutal threat right now because they're threatening to jump with the knight, threaten the queen, and also with the discovered attack, hit this spot here, taking advantage of the file. So the black pieces here played f6 without thinking to avoid these knight jumps that are so dangerous. There was a very interesting move here, which was to bring the rook over here, threatening this queen in the center of the board. And we take the chance to bring out our rook, then the bishop, and then double up the rooks. But in the game, bishop e3 was played, also a good move, threatening a queen that had to retreat, and in fact it retreated to the a4 square. Why? To attack this spot right here. Here, the white pieces played a move that was too passive, which was a3, and here they had a move that I'm going to show you that's totally spectacular. They had this move here to come with the queen, trying to enter through this point, and the king here, almost exposed, wouldn't be able to do practically anything. Therefore, they'd have to block this path with the most logical move, e5. And here there's a checkmate in 5 moves that's totally spectacular, which is practically impossible to see. If you want, you can stop the video, but it's very hard to see. I'm going to show it to you here. We sacrifice the bishop right here. Watching these videos with a little coffee or something, honestly, even I watch them. Let's get back to it. I'm getting sidetracked. Sacrificing the bishop. When they take it, we come in with the queen, check. The king has to move. Now we come in with the bishop, check. The king has to move. And now we finish it off with this totally brutal checkmate with the knight. since it can't be taken because of the queen's pin. This wasn't what happened in the game, but it could have happened, and it was wonderful. I wanted to show it to you because it was really beautiful. So we go back to the game where A3 was played, and things were set up a bit better and a bit more safely, because he probably hadn't seen this combination. So let's continue with the game, because it really was wonderful too. As I said, E3 was played here, and black followed with the knight over here. A few different developing moves were then made, such as, first of all, positioning the queen right here on the same diagonal as the rook. Next, the bishop was also developed, and the other rook was placed in the center, also looking at this point here. The pieces had been placed in a way that they wanted to launch a brutal attack on the enemy king, who quickly castles to avoid being here in the center, which seemed very, very dangerous. How the game continue? Well, what the white pieces did was pull the bishop back a little bit, same as black, to make way for this e5 pawn and be able to develop their other bishop. Therefore, white has placed the pieces here in a way to be able to smash this long castle, starting with this move here, giving a brutal check to the king, where there are now two ways to continue, moving the king or playing the move d6, or e6, sorry. Two very logical moves, but both end up exactly the same. In the game, e6 was played. So let's see how the white pieces continue to blow up this position, as it is super beautiful. If you want to pause the video, as always, and this is the last exercise I'm leaving you with, you can try to solve this exercise yourself. Here it goes. The white pieces played rook takes pawn, sacrificing the queen and sacrificing the rook. And we're going to see that it's spectacular. First, what happens if they take our queen? If they take our queen, we simply come with the rook all the way to the end, double check. They can't take the rook, nor can they move the king away, because it's double check and the king can't go anywhere. Therefore, if they take our queen, it's checkmate on the next move. Sorry, this is here. There it is. Let's also see what happens if the rook is taken, which is what happened in the game. Well, the bishop was simply taken. Check. This king has to move away. And now we sacrifice the queen for the rook, and when they take our queen, and when they take it, rook takes knight, checkmate, which gives us a totally brutal lesson that this opening, this very aggressive trap, is very powerful. And if you are attacking players, you will really like putting it into practice. If you want, you can put it into practice. I hope you loved this video. I've had a great time, as always, with you all. Later, tomorrow, I'll be reading all your comments, as I always do in the daily video. You know that a like gives me a lot of strength to keep uploading daily videos. And the same goes for a subscription if you like this channel. And activate, especially guys, activate the channel bell. Because that way, every time I upload a new video, YouTube will notify you and send you a notification. So I hope you loved this wonderful video, that you save it, share it, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Goodbye.